Now, before I start this video, I'm going to say this. I have not played Splatoon ever since it came out, and I honestly have no intention on it due to the fact that the game is just a bland and dull game from what I've played of it. And I've also sold my Wii U, so I can't really play Splatoon anymore. But what I can say about Splatoon is, I'm honestly surprised it still has people playing it. I mean, look at it on Twitch. Look how few people stream that game on Twitch. I mean, it's a Friday night, and more people are playing even Black Ops 2, and even the Master Chief Collection, you know, the game which is still broken in many ways, than they are Splatoon, and that says a lot about Splatoon. However, one of the things I've noticed about this game is making me realize why people are not playing this game as much anymore, and that is the fact that Splatoon suffers from some serious lag issues. Now, even among the people who are addicted to Splatoon like it's crack cocaine, you'll hear people complaining about how the game is lagging, how they're getting kicked out of matches, how it's unplayable. And I looked up YouTube videos, and I can confirm that this game does have a big lag issue. There are videos on YouTube of people shooting the floor to paint it, and the paint not registering, or people getting killed by enemies that are standing miles away from them because the game is lagging. And to make matters worse, they're even getting killed by people standing far away from them with a close range weapon because of the lag. And just recently, I've heard about people just getting dropped from matches, or being lucky to even get into a match of this game without it dropping. And I've heard this on many websites such as Twitter, Game FAQs, and YouTube, and more. And I've noticed this has been happening a lot more than it would for, say, another game that's not run by Nintendo. Now, while the media hasn't made an article about this yet, considering how the media usually turns a blind eye whenever a Nintendo game has an online issue, I've noticed a few things Nintendo has done that are possibly making the lag worse from what I've seen. Now, let's talk about problem number one, and that is the Ethernet port. The Wii U lacks an Ethernet port, while the competition, including desktop PCs and gaming consoles, include this Ethernet port. Now, what does this Ethernet port do? Well, instead of using the built-in wireless of these consoles, which has greater latency and of course has signal issues if you live in a house where you're in a different room from the router, they use an Ethernet wire connected straight from your router into the console itself. And of course, if you're doing something like Xbox One game streaming, Microsoft actually recommends you use Ethernet instead of wireless for a good reason. Ethernet provides greater signal quality, greater bandwidth, and less latency than wireless. And to make matters worse for the Wii U, the system also lacks a very strong wireless antenna or radio, so it seems to have issues picking up wireless signals, even if the router is in the room next to it. So, if there's so much problems with wireless, why doesn't the Wii U include Ethernet? To cut a few dollars maybe, because there is an Ethernet adapter that plugs into the Wii U's USB port, but at the same time it costs around $10 and doesn't come with the system and is kind of hard to get in stores because stores don't carry it. So when you have a lot of the online population using wireless because, well, there's no Ethernet port so they can't just plug it into their system, then you have degraded connection quality for everybody on Nintendo Network. And this is a bad thing because if you're playing online, you want to have strong connections, especially if other people are hosting. However, at the same time, the next few problems are things that could be resolved by updates. I mean, Nintendo can patch their games, they're capable of it, so they should add these features for the players. Because after all, these features exist in other games, and if other companies can do it, why can't Nintendo? Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is the fact that Splatoon lacks connection indicators. Now, I'm going to be honest here, Splatoon is not the only offender for this. The console versions of Battlefield 4, for example, along with Call of Duty Ghosts and the Halo Master Chief Collection, also lack any sort of ping or connection indicator whatsoever when you're playing online. Now, the Wii U is not incapable of displaying a connection indicator. After all, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 for the Nintendo Wii U displays connection indicators whenever you're in an online match, and if you hit the back button, you can see what your ping is, and if someone's lagging, you'll see the connection interrupted message like you usually would. And Splatoon does not give you any indication whatsoever you're lagging, unlike other games. Instead, you're just left to look at the glitches, such as your shots not registering or getting killed by enemies from a long distance with a close-range weapon, because of the lag. And honestly, I don't like when any publisher removes what should be a basic feature of an online game. If Nintendo wants to prove that they are up to the reputation their fan base gives them as the one company looking out for gamers, maybe they should add a feature that even basic games have. Now, this next problem has to do with connection quality as well. Now, by now, you've probably been in at least one science class or watched a few Bill Nye episodes, and you probably know that light travels at a very specific speed. It's why there's even a term of measurement called light years, which refers to how long it takes for light to get somewhere in a year. And when you're playing an online game, you want to be match-made with somebody who's physically located at the closest geographic location to where you're at for the best connection quality, because after all, if you live in a farther distance, your ping goes up, and therefore there is more latency and lag when you're playing a game. And I've noticed a lot of people who live in America getting match-made with people living in Japan. And this is a problem when it comes to latency because, at least in the east coast of America, if you try playing a game with somebody in Japan, you'll get a high ping around 200 to 300 milliseconds, which is an unacceptable number for online gaming. And due to the fact that I hear about this happening a lot, it makes me wonder if this was either accidental or intentional. And the reason being is because of this. With other online games, when the population dips, you're more likely to be match-made with people across the globe in an attempt to get you into a match due to the fact that there are fewer people online playing the game. And if this is intentional, well, it's just plain dumb. I mean, sure, it might sound cool to somebody who's never touched online in a game before to be playing with somebody all the way in a country like Japan, but if you've played online games a lot, you'll know that having a high ping is a very bad thing and can be very detrimental to your experience as an online gamer. One more problem with Splatoon's online that could be fixed by Nintendo is the fact that the game currently lacks dedicated servers. Now, many gamers on online games want dedicated servers for a good reason. It reduces lag, it gives players a more stable connection, and of course, did I mention that the game is being run in some data center and not somebody's McDonald's Wi-Fi connection? And I mean, there's no reason not to. Nintendo has plenty of money in the bank, and they could invest that on a good online infrastructure that would allow them to get a step ahead, or at least get to where the other consoles are at. I mean, gamers want dedicated servers, so why not give the gamers what they want? I mean, gamers would likely want dedicated servers more than they would a new amiibo, right? And honestly, that's really all I have to say on Splatoon's lag issues. If Nintendo added basic features the competition had, maybe Splatoon wouldn't be lagging so much now, and maybe Nintendo fans would be happier that their game would actually work. But as of now, more people are playing games like Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and Smash 4, and Melee than Splatoon. That's all you need to know. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more.